Hello again and happy Saturday evening local time from Metro Manila, the Philippines, Southeastern Asia. 40 years ago, the world experienced one of its least attended Summer Olympics in decades. Or when we look back now from the perspective of 2020, and we compare the number of countries that officially participated in those Summer Olympics, it certainly was smaller than either in Montreal 4 years earlier, when 92 countries participated, or in Los Angeles in 1984, where 140 countries participated. By contrast, in Moscow in 1980, only 80 countries sent Olympic teams to those Summer Olympics. And over 10 of those countries marched under the Olympic flag to show solidarity to the many boycotting countries. And thus, if those countries' athletes or teams won Olympic gold medals, instead of the country's national anthems, the Olympic anthem was played. Well, what had led to this? The Cold War competition. While in 1976, most African countries had boycotted the Olympics because New Zealand's rugby team had decided to play in South Africa, which until 1994 had the racist apartheid or racial segregation system in politics, society, and even in sports, and in education, of course, as well. And in 1984, citing alleged security concerns and, more to the point, the excessive commercialization of the Summer Olympics, almost all Eastern European communist countries, Yugoslavia and Romania being the exceptions, and the Soviet Union and some other countries like North Korea decided to boycott the Olympics. Interestingly enough, China did not boycott those Olympics. In 1980, there were several Western countries, including Canada, the United States, West Germany, and Norway, which decided to boycott those games. There were more countries in the Americas, in Africa, here in Asia, for example, the Philippines, where I'm now living, decided to boycott those Olympic Games. The immediate cause was the invasion of Afghanistan by the Soviet Union, which had begun in December 1979 and which had practically ended the so-called détente, or the easing of tensions between the two official superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. And interestingly enough, the decade of détente, which had begun in 1969 with the start of the strategic arms limitation talks in Helsinki and Vienna, the capitals of Finland and Austria, by the way, two officially neutral European countries, had involved also the easing of tensions between the United States and China, which culminated then in the official recognition of the Communist People's Republic of China by the United States in 1979, which of course then meant that China, that the relations between the United States and Taiwan, or the Republic of China, were officially severed. Already in the early 1970s, China had inherited Taiwan's permanent seat on the UN Security Council. Behind the scenes in the Soviet Union, there was intense rivalry among the would-be successors of the visibly sick and aging dictator, president, and general secretary of the Communist Party, Leonid Brezhnev. While in the United States, Jimmy Carter had proved to be an unpopular and mostly unsuccessful president, despite being a very hard-working one. And his opponents were jockeying both in the opposition Republican Party and in his own Democratic Party to defeat him. Carter decided in early 1980 not to send an Olympic team to the United States. Regardless, in the summer of 1980, Olympic trials, which were kind of redundant ones, were still held in the United States, at least in the track and field events. During those 2 weeks from the opening ceremonies, which were held on July the 19th, 1980, at the Lenin Stadium in Moscow, and then the closing ceremonies, which were held on August the 3rd, 1980. Athletes competed basically in the same events as they had competed 4 years earlier in Montreal. The sailing events were held in Tallinn, then in the Soviet Republic of Estonia, now, of course, in the independent Estonia. The weather was variable. At times it was hot, at times then cool. So let's look at some statistics now. So as I said, there were only 80 countries which participated, 5,179 athletes, of whom 4,064 were men. The remainder, 1,115, were women. There were 203 events in 21 types of sports, or in 27 disciplines. The Soviet Union and East Germany won 127 out of 203 available gold medals. The games were officially opened, despite his bad health problems, by General Secretary and President of the Soviet Union, Leonid Brezhnev. The cauldron was lit by Sergei Bielov. In October 1974, Moscow had won these Olympic Games. "80 countries participated in these Olympic Games, the smallest number since 1956. Interestingly enough, also the communist China boycotted those Olympics. So did Japan, so did Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and also, let's see, Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, Bolivia, at least. And then another country, maybe Suriname in South America. The Soviet invasion spurred US President Jimmy Carter to issue an ultimatum, or an unconditional demand, on January the 20th, 1980, and he gave the Soviet Union 1 month to withdraw its troops. It didn't. And therefore, Carter declared a big boycott. "15 countries marched in the opening ceremony with the Olympic flag instead of their national flags. Competitors from 3 countries, New Zealand, Portugal, and Spain, competed under the flags of their respective national Olympic committees. Some of these teams that marched under flags other than their national flags were depleted by boycotts by individual athletes, while some athletes did not participate in the march. The boycott's impact was mixed. Some events, such as swimming, track and field, boxing, basketball, diving, field hockey, and equestrian sports, were hard hit. While competitors from 36 countries became Olympic medalists, the great majority of the medals were taken by the host country, meaning the Soviet Union and East Germany, in what was the most skewed medal tally since 1904. There were a record number of events, and despite the fact that many of the world's top sporting countries, such as the United States, West Germany, Norway, Canada, China, and so forth, did not participate, 36 world records, 39 European records, and 74 Olympic records were set at the Games. Later on, of course, there have been allegations that many of the athletes were doped, and then there were controversies, for example, in the men's triple jump final, where the Brazilian competitor, have to get his name, João Carlos de Oliveira, who lived from 1954 to 1999 and whose sporting career was cruelly ended by a car crash in 1981 in which he lost one leg. He and then Australia's Ian Campbell had actually at least one or two so-called fouled jumps in which their athletic shoe had supposedly scraped the board, when in fact they should have been allowed. And one of those jumps, unmeasured, of Joao Carlos de Oliveira, actually would have been the triple jumps world record. Allegedly, the Soviet judges did this in order to give the three-time Olympic champion Viktor Saneyev a chance to crown his sporting career with a fourth Olympic gold medal. That tactic, however, did not quite succeed because a fellow Soviet athlete, Estonia's Jaak Uudmäe, unexpectedly won that competition. And then there were allegations according to which the Lenin Stadium's gates near the men's javelin throws take-off board were allegedly opened when there were Soviet athletes throwing, and a so-called flat-sided throw by the Soviet Union's Denis Kula allegedly was measured against the rules because it came down on the grass totally flat, and yet it was memorably measured at 88.88 meters. Mr. Kula, if I remember correctly, ended up winning the competition. Perhaps in the spirit of solidarity, a documentary which can still be viewed on YouTube, by the way, O Sport, You Are Peace, was produced of those Olympic Games, and also some unrelated events like performances by the Moscow Circus. Major broadcasters of the Games were USSR State TV and Radio, Eurovision, which is a pan-European broadcasting corporation, and Intervision. TV Asahi, with 68 cards, provided coverage for Japan, while OTI, representing Latin America, received 59 cards, and the Seven Network provided coverage for Australia, 48 cards. During the opening ceremony, Salyut 6 crew Leonid Popov and Valery Ryumin sent their greetings to the Olympians and wished them happy starts in their live communication between the station and the Central Lenin Stadium. They appeared on the stadium scoreboard and their voices were translated via loudspeakers. Despite the massive boycott, the Games attracted 5 million spectators, an increase of 1.5 million from the Montreal Games, although that may have partly been due to the fact that the Montreal Olympic Stadium was not embarrassingly enough, not 100% ready by the opening of those games back in July 1976. There were 1,245 referees from 78 countries. A series of commemorative coins was released in the USSR from 1977 to 1980 to commemorate the event. The Oxford Olympic Study established the outturn cost of the Moscow 1980 Summer Olympics at $6.3 billion as measured in 2015. The mascot was the Misha bear. Bear is Russia's national animal and was the Soviet Union's national animal. Interestingly enough, it's also the national animal of one of Russia's small neighbors, my native land, Finland, in Northern Europe. In archery, the young Finnish athlete, Mr. Tomi Poikolainen, who had not finished any of the previous 3 days shooting higher than fourth, came from fourth on the last day to win the men's archery competition, scoring 2,455 points, beating a Soviet athlete by just 3 points. The women's archery gold was won by Ms. Ketevan Losaberidze, who was also the world, European, and Soviet champion. The women's archery silver was won by Ms. Natalia Butuzova, who had set 9 national records and 3 world records in 1979. The US archery team was one of the strongest ever fielded, but due to the boycott, the team never had a chance to prove itself. This team held every record and featured the 1976 Olympic champion Darrell O'Pace, who was averaging 100 points more than the winning score in Moscow at the time. Ethiopia's Mirut Sifter, known for his explosive final kick, normally started some 300 meters before the finish line, which caused him to be nicknamed Gifter the Shifter, won the 10,000 meter race by 1.6 seconds from Finland's Kaarlo Maaninka, and according to the official timing, the 5,000 meter final by 6/10 of a second, according to the unofficial timing, actually by 7/10 of a second from Tanzania's Suleiman Nyambui. The four-time Olympic champion Lasse Viren of Finland, in his final formal international, like major international sports competitions, was able to fight bravely until 9,700 meters and then had to settle for fifth place in the 10,000 meter final. He skipped the 5,000 meter heats to focus on the marathon, which he unfortunately had to abort due to stomach ailment before 30 kilometers. East Germany's Waldemar Cierpinski successfully defended his Olympic gold medal in men's marathon. Then the middle distances on the men's side, meaning 800 meters and 1500 meters, were marked by the intense rivalry of the top two British middle distance runners, Steve Ovett, who had been undefeated prior to the 1500 meter final in 45 consecutive 1500 meter and mile races. So he was favored to win the 1500 meter gold medal. And then Sebastian Coe, who had set in 1979 the 800, 1000 and 1500 meter and even the mile world records. So during one season, 4 middle distance world records. He was strongly favored to win the 800 meter final, yet the opposite happened. Coe ran a poor tactical race and did not follow Ovett closely enough when the pace clearly accelerated after about 430, 440 meters of the initially sluggish 800 meter final. It was only around 200 meters before the end when Coe started to sprint, but since he was over 5 meters behind Ovett and still was about 5 meters behind Ovett with 100 meters left, he was only able to painstakingly rise to the silver medal position. By contrast, in the 1500 meter final, which was notably slow with the official later timing giving the long-time leader Jürgen Straub of East Germany a time of just 2 minutes 4.9 seconds, slower even than in Montreal 4 years earlier or in Munich 8 years earlier. But then, according to the official timing, Straub sprinted the third lap in 54.2 seconds and was still able to clock 39.7 seconds for the last 300 meters. On the final bend, Ovett fell 2 meters behind Coe and was unable to close the gap. Rather, it stretched to about 4.5 meters, while Coe beat Straub by 3 meters. So Ovett humiliatingly only got the bronze medal in that competition, losing to his countryman by 6/10 of a second, while Straub lost to Coe by 4/10 of a second. Helped by the absence of US opposition, Britain's Alan Wells beat Cuba's Silvio Leonard by only a few thousandths of a second in men's 100-meter dash. The winning time was notably slow, 10.25 seconds, although that was slowed down by, I think, the headwind and by the rather cool summer evening. East Germany's Gert Wessig easily won men's high jump with the best effort of 2.36 meters. This was 9 centimeters higher than he had ever jumped before. In the 1980 Olympic women's long jump competition, the Soviet jumper Ms. Tatiana Kolpakova set a new Olympic record of 7.06 meters. Poland's Władysław Kozakiewicz won the pole vault with a jump of 5.78 meters, only the second pole vaulting world record to be established during an Olympic competition. In the long jump competition, 3 women scored higher than 7 meters with their best efforts for the first time ever in one competition. Mrs. Berbel Böckel, winner of the 200-meter dash in Montreal, became the first woman to retain the title. Ms. Tatiana Kazankina of the Soviet Union retained the 1500-meter title that she had won in Montreal. Her countrywoman, Nadezhda Olizarenko, set a new world record for the women's 800-meter run in the final. In the women's pentathlon, the Soviet Nadia Tkachenko, who now lives in the Ukraine, scored 5,083 points to become the first athlete to exceed 5,000 points in the event during one Olympic competition. It would be replaced since at least 1983 in the major international competitions, outdoor competitions, by heptathlon of 7 events, while the men have already, since at least the early 20th century, competed in 10 events over 2 days, the decathlon. East Germany's Lutz Dombrowski won the long jump gold. The Soviet Union's Yuri Sedich won gold in the hammer throw event. 4 of his 6 throws broke the world record of that time of 80 meters. Ms. Evelyn Jahl of East Germany won the discus gold again with the best throw of 96.69 meters. Unexpectedly, Cuba's Maria Caridad Colon won the women's javelin throw, setting a new Olympic record. Italy's Sara Simeoni won the women's high jump, setting a new Olympic record. She had won a silver medal in the 1976 Olympics and would go on to win another silver medal in the 1984 Summer Olympics. In the track and field, 6 world records, 18 Olympic records, and 9 best results of the year were registered. In women's track and field events alone, either a world or Olympic record was broken in almost every event. Britain's Daley Thompson won the gold in decathlon, and he would successfully defend his Olympic title 4 years later in Los Angeles. The Polish gold medalist pole vaulter Władysław Kozakiewicz showed an obscene bras d'honneur, or literally arm of honor gesture in all 4 directions to the jeering Soviet public. And this was seen as disrespectful towards the Soviet Union. That same summer, Poland began the 9-year or 10-year transition period, which would culminate in the defeat of the communists with the formation of the Solidarity trade union movement. Another Polish athlete, steeplechaser Bronisław Malinowski, finally achieved gold medal. Tragically, his life was cut short only 14 months later, on September 27, 1981, when in the northern Polish city of Grudziądz, he died in a head-on crash with a truck. In the men's basketball competition, Yugoslavia won. The Soviet Union finished 3rd. Italy took the silver medal. In the women's competition, the Soviet Union won, beating Bulgaria for gold. Yugoslavia won the bronze medal. Cuba's Teófilo Stevenson became the first boxer to win 3 consecutive Olympic titles in heavyweight. Uladzimir Parfyanovich of the Soviet Union won 3 gold medals in canoeing. Apart from the boycotted Los Angeles Olympics, Birgit Fischer of East Germany won medals in each Olympics from 1980 to 2004. In the 500 meters kayak singles, she won gold in Moscow, silver in Seoul, and gold in Barcelona. Lothar Toms of East Germany won the 1,000 meter individual pursuit cycling gold for the men, breaking the world record by nearly 4 seconds. The winner of the bronze in that race was Jamaica's David Weller, who also broke the 16-year-old world record. In the 4,000 meters team pursuit qualifying heats, new world indoor records were set 8 times. The Soviet Union's Sergei Sukhoruchenkov won the 189-kilometer individual road race. The cycling team road race and Montreal. In cycling, world records were toppled 21 times. Let's see. Alexander Portnov, despite waiting a long time, was allowed to keep his gold in the springboard diving final of men. East Germany's Martina Jaschke was fourth in the women's competition after the preliminary high dives, but came back to win gold on the competition's second day. The Soviet Union's Irina Kalinina won gold in the springboard final of women. Austrian Elisabeth Teurer took gold in the individual dressage competition of women's equestrian competitions. In the individual show jumping event, Poland's Jan Kowalczyk and the Soviet Union's Nikolai Korolkov each had 8 faults, but Kowalczyk won gold as his horse completed the course more quickly. The oldest, Romania's Petre Rosca, who was 57 years old. France took 4 gold medals in fencing. In the team saber fencing final for the 5th Olympics in a row, Italy and the Soviet Union met, and the Soviet Union won, as they had done in Tokyo, Mexico, and Montreal. In the football or European-style soccer, the Soviet Union finished 3rd, Czechoslovakia won, and East Germany took the silver medal. The matches were played in Moscow and Leningrad, Kiev, and Minsk. Moscow and Leningrad were in the Soviet Federative Socialist Republic, Kiev in the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, and Minsk in the Belarusian Soviet Socialist Republic. Soviet gymnast Alexander Dityatin won a medal in each of the 8 gymnastics events, including 3 titles for the men. He was the first athlete to win 8 medals at Olympic Games. Nikolai at a single Olympic Games, of course. Nikolai Andrianov, who had won gold on floor at both Munich and Montreal, was pipped this time by East Germany's Roland Bruckner. Zoltán Magyar of Hungary, interestingly enough, his last name means Hungarian, Magyar, retained the Olympic title on pommel horse that he had won in Montreal. In the team competition, the Soviet Union won the gold medal for the 8th consecutive time, continuing the gold series that had started back in 1952 at the Helsinki Summer Olympics. In the women's gymnastics event finals, a Romanian gymnast won medals on each piece of apparatus for the first time. Balance beam Nadia Comaneci, who had excelled at the age of 14 at the 1976 Montreal Summer Olympics 4 years earlier. She also won gold in the floor competition. In the uneven bar competition, Emilia Eberle won the silver medal and Melita Huhn the bronze medal. And in the vault, Melita Huhn won the bronze medal. In the handball competition, on the men's side, East Germany defeated the Soviet Union in the final. In the women's tournament, the Soviet Union won all its games and retained the Olympic handball title. Yugoslavia and East Germany gained the silver and bronze medals. 6 countries competed in the women's field hockey: Austria, India, Poland, Czechoslovakia, the Soviet Union, and Zimbabwe. Interestingly enough, Zimbabwe won the gold medal. India won a record 8th title in men's field hockey, the Soviet Union being relegated to the bronze medal position. In Japan's absence, the Soviet Union won 5 medals in judo. In the modern pentathlon, George Horvat of Sweden recorded a perfect score in the pistol shoot. In rowing, Finland's Pertti Karppinen successfully defended his Olympic title from Montreal in the men's 2,000-meter rowing final. East Germany, however, dominated rowing, winning 11 of the 14 titles. These German men won 7 out of 8 events, so only Mr. Karppinen from Finland prevented a clean sweep by the East Germans. East German women won 4 of their 6 events. In the rowing eights, with coxswain, the British team won silver just 0.74 seconds behind East Germany. Soviet sailor Valentin Mankin won a gold medal in star class, but Finland also won 1 Olympic gold medal with Esko Reichardt. The 3-day skeet shooting marathon was won by Hans Kjell Rasmussen of Denmark. In the small bore rifle prone event, Hungarian Károly Varga captured the gold medal and equaled the world record. In swimming, the Soviet Union's Vladimir Salnikov won 3 gold medals. He became the first man in history to break the 15-minute barrier in the 1,500-meter freestyle, the swimming's equivalent of breaking the 4-minute mile. Salnikov also won gold in the 4x200-meter relay and the 400-meter freestyle. In the Montreal final of the 400-meter freestyle, the 7th and 8th place finalists finished in over 4 minutes. Duncan Goodhue of Great Britain won the men's 100 meters breaststroke. Sweden's Bengt Baron won gold in the men's 100-meter backstroke. In the men's 4x100-meter medley relay, each of the 8 teams taking part in the final broke its country's national record. Neil Brooks swam the final leg as the Australian swam the second fastest time in history to take the first Australian gold medal in swimming since 1972 in the men's 4x100-meter medley relay. On the women's side, East Germany won 9 of 11 individual titles, both the relays, and set 6 world records. As it was revealed later, their results were aided by the state-sponsored doping system. Indeed, there have been suggestions that at least some of the Cold War's world records, especially the ones set in the 1970s and perhaps even several set in the 1980s, should be erased, because there was a massive state-sponsored doping in various countries, both in the Western countries and in the communist countries. Even my country, Finland, was by no means innocent of this. There were several or many cases of doping in the men's and women's endurance events, especially cross-country skiing and long-distance running. Norway likewise was implicated, and Italy, especially in cross-country skiing. East Germany's Barbara Krause became the first woman to go under 55 seconds for the 100-meter freestyle. East Germany's Rika Heinisch, a backstroker, won the 100-meter and 200-meter backstrokes. In the 100-meter butterfly, Karen Metschuk of East Germany beat her more experienced teammate Andrea Pollack to win the gold medal. East Germany's Petra Schneider shaved 3 seconds off the world record in the 400-meter medley. As in Montreal, the Soviet women made a clean sweep of the medals in the 200-meter breaststroke. Michelle Ford of Australia won the 800-meter freestyle over 4 seconds ahead of her East German rivals. In the swimming 230 national, 22 Olympic and 10 world records were set. The youngest male gold medalist of these Olympics was Hungarian backstroke swimmer Sándor Vladar, who was just 17 years old at the time. The prominent nation in both volleyball competitions, so on the men's and women's side, was the Soviet Union. Its teams won both golds. In water polo, Hungary won a bronze medal in water polo. The standard of weightlifting was the highest in the history of the Olympics. There were 18 senior world records, 2 junior world records, more than 100 Olympic records, and 108 national records. The oldest of weightlifting's Olympic records, the snatch in the lightweight class set in 1964, was bettered 13 times. The Soviet Union's Yurik Vardanyan became the first middleweight to total over 400 kilograms. He won the gold medal. In the super heavyweight class, Vasily Alexeyev of the Soviet Union, Olympic champion at Munich and Montreal, 8-time world champion, who in his career had set 80 world records, failed to win a medal. Soviet weightlifters won 5 gold medals. The new category in weightlifting up to 100 kilograms was won by Ota Zaremba of Czechoslovakia. In the Greco-Roman wrestling, Hungary's Ferenc Kocsis was declared the winner of the 163-pound class when the defending Olympic champion Anatoly Bykov was disqualified for passivity. Soviet wrestlers won 12 gold medals. Because of the US boycott, changes were made to the traditional elements of the closing ceremony that represented the handover to the host city of the next Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. Among them, the Los Angeles flag instead of the US flag was raised, and the Olympic anthem instead of the national anthem of the United States was played. There also was no Antwerp ceremony where the ceremonial Olympic flag was transferred from the mayor of Moscow to the mayor of Los Angeles. Instead, the flag was kept by the Moscow city authorities until 1984. Furthermore, there was no next host city presentation. Misha, the mascot, formed in a mosaic at the moment when a tear ran down his face during the iconic scene part of the closing ceremony, was photographed and is featured in this Wikipedia article. Both the opening and the closing ceremonies were shown in Mr. Yuri Ozerov's 1981 film O Sport, You Are the World, or You Are Peace. Mir can be translated apparently both as world and peace.